Yeah.
So if you are looking to become a referee, these are the 5 reasons you should become a referee based on. Hi everyone, and welcome back to REFSIX podcast. We are back for a brand new season. We've got a load of interesting conversations and topics to talk about over the next few weeks and months. No, I'm not. I'm going to start that again. Firstly, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Hassan Rajwani. I am one of the co-founders here at REFSIX. I'm a level 5 referee in England. I'm joined today by 2 co-hosts. Jon, you'll know.
Yeah, so I'm obviously Jon from REFSIX. I've been at REFSIX for 2 years. I'm level 3 referee, so I referee on the Isthmian League and I run the line on the National League.
And for this season, we've got a 3rd guest, Dan.
Yeah, I'm Dan. I'm a level 3 referee as well, so same level as Jon, and I'm a REFSIX Pro user as well.
Awesome. So like I said, we're going to be doing a variety of different new things in this podcast. We're not going to be necessarily talking about all the incidents that happened over the weekend, but if there are any specific incidents you want us to chat about, let us know in the comments and we'll make sure to talk about them in future podcasts. How we're going to do the format is we're going to do a little bit of a conversation about a topic in refereeing, and then we're going to get into some football chat, showing you that actually referees do know ball. We know everything about football, and we'll give you our insights into that. But first, this week, we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons to referee.
Yeah.
So we sent out a survey. We put out a load of reasons what we thought were good reasons, and actually everyone liked them. There was only a few additional ones. But what are your thoughts? What are your top 5? Or maybe let's start with like a few of the high-level things that you think about when you referee.
I think first and foremost for me, the main reason for me to referee is the opportunity to progress and develop. I have always viewed it as a career, and from my perspective, I would like to get to the highest possible level, and that would be my main reason for refereeing.
Yeah, I think that would be mine too. Although I've quickly realised I'm probably not going to have the capabilities to get there. So there's a few other reasons that I referee still. But go on, Jon.
Mine would probably be personal development. Being somewhat introverted, I find it, having to put myself out there a little bit more, show confidence, especially in myself, put myself out there against players and managers and introducing yourself to like teams, like secretaries, really puts me out there and brings me a lot of skills that I can bring into my work, as well as like my general life, whether that be meeting new people, going to events. So yeah, sort of that kind of thing is really beneficial to me, I think.
I think it definitely takes you out of your comfort zone, and you really have to grow as a person to become a referee, and you really have to be confident with what you do.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree on that.
Yeah, so the reason number one, obviously now that I'm in refereeing, obviously my reasons for starting were slightly different, but I'm sure we'll cover that in a different podcast.
Yeah, so I went first and foremost, actually, my top reason is community. So like being part of the football and refereeing community, being able to have new friends that maybe I wouldn't have met in different walks of life. So that was my main reason. But let's have a look at the list, and we can talk through the results. So we actually ended up getting 135 people surveyed, and they gave us their feedback. And we got 17 different reasons. So we'll start with the bottom one and we'll work our way up. So the last one, this was a suggestion by Jon, but Jon didn't actually put this in his top 5. Only one person said post-match food.
Big up them. Shout out.
Depends where you go.
I don't even get that good post-match food anymore.
Honestly,
after COVID, it's been pretty
some of them are phenomenal, mate.
Yeah.
Absolute phenom pen. Yeah, it's one of the things I didn't vote it, don't get me wrong, I didn't vote it, but it is definitely one of the things that I do enjoy and look forward to.
There's one in, there was one notorious one in Sussex.
Roffey.
Yeah,
she went to Allfold.
Okay.
So, obviously, we got promoted, lost Roffey, but she moved to Allfold, who then we used to get.
Yeah, the food was fantastic. There was about 5 or 6 different options that you could pick from. And normally it's just you get given what you get given, and at this place you just got
anything you wanted.
Anything you wanted.
Shout out to Roffy.
I can't remember. My favourite one was that they just turned up. I think the team was sponsored by Domino's, and they just turned up and they just put a Domino's pizza in front of you for all the referees. That was awesome. Number 16 was the opportunity to referee Stars of the Future. That got voted by 5 people in the top 5. Have you ever refereed someone big or someone that you didn't know and they've turned out to be pretty big?
My biggest clang at the moment is Phil Foden. I did him at under 12s.
Okay.
At St George's Park.
I can't top that, so I'm just going to.
Come on, you've got someone though.
I genuinely haven't got anyone that I could remember. To be honest with you, I'm old now and I've been refereeing for far too long. So if I did, it was way back when, and I can't even remember.
The only one I know is Solly March. He was at Lewis before we went to Brighton.
Nice.
And I refereed him in the Ryman Youth League at the time. So some people like it for that reason, like refereeing for that reason. The next one, we thought this might not get any votes, but actually, fair play to the 9 people who put it in their top 5, which was enjoying the power and authority that comes with officiating. So some people do it for that reason.
Yeah, they do. It's not for me, but it is what it is. We'd have to dig deeper. Are they policemen or women?
I think maybe one way of saying that is that you enjoy being the leader of a team, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that's a positive spin on it. More so than maybe the angle that John's coming from. From a power trip sense, maybe.
Yeah. 11 people said getting out of the house. Yep. So I guess that's could be anything. It could be like just getting away from family. It could be actually just another social experience to do on a weekend. Similar to kind of what I said around community and camaraderie. At 13, make new friends. Do you guys think that that's a big part of refereeing?
Massively. I'm sure, obviously, if you've watched the vlogs as well, you would have seen Durso, you'd have seen Red. A lot of my close and personal mates that I would say are my support group now are referees or people that I've met refereeing through refereeing. I've been on holiday with you boys as a referee. Well, not as a referee, but through refereeing. So yeah, definitely some of my closest mates are referees.
I think it's a massive part of me. It's actually second on my list in terms of my top 5. I'm originally from Essex, as you probably know, John. Yep. I'm not sure if you know Hassan, but I moved down here in 2015 and I didn't know anybody. So for me, a massive part of my friendship group here is referees. And I definitely wouldn't have stayed here for as long as I have if I didn't form those friendships. So it's great.
No, awesome. 12, opportunity to travel. I put regionally, nationally and internationally. So I've been fortunate, and if Dan Curcio is listening, to go and travel to tournaments abroad and meet people all around the world, which is awesome. And that I did that when I was like a level 7, brand new into refereeing. So it's definitely an opportunity. But I know I've visited games, even at my level, where I've never been even to those towns. I've never even heard of those places. Yeah. Do you get that as well?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been lucky enough. We refereed in Denmark.
Yeah.
Almost this time last year. I was lucky enough to ref in Australia as well. Cultured. But yeah, I agree. Like, I've been to the ends of nowhere, places I've never been, probably never thought of. Mm-hmm. For example, Dover. I would never thought I'd referee in Dover, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, and that's quite nice.
Yeah, it's great. It definitely gives you the opportunity to travel, whether that's domestically or obviously at a high level internationally, which is obviously a massive goal for myself personally, but obviously for a number of referees who are active around the world. So it's great.
And obviously the World Cup coming up, that's the ultimate international tournament. Lots of referees, 36 referees going out there just in the middle, and loads of other officials, assistants and VARs, etc. Next one is 11th, opportunity to referee big games. So, what's the biggest game you've done, and how has that impacted your refereeing enjoyment?
Wow, loaded question. I've genuinely tried. I've really got to wrap my brain to think about it. I should have done some preparation for this. I genuinely can't remember really, but
Cup finals or?
I think maybe a cup final that I did last year or maybe the year before.
The COVID Cup.
It was a supplementary cup competition that the league ran that I was refereeing on at the time as a level 4. It was a one-off competition after the season was ended early because of COVID, and I think that was a big game because coming back to that support network of camaraderie and friends and stuff like that in refereeing, a lot of my friends, Jon included, came to that game. And my family were there, my parents were there, my partner was there. So for me, it was an occasion as a cup final, but it was also the fact that I had about 10 people in the crowd who were supporting me that made it a bigger game as well.
Supporting, were you?
Yeah, no. Picking them apart.
Did they all wear referee kits or no?
Not quite. They're not quite all that sad.
Next, so we're getting into the top 10 now. The feeling of coming off a game knowing you've helped deliver an entertaining game of football. So for me, this is one of the biggest ones. So like, that feeling of that 22 handshakes after the game, or just coming off the game and people saying, "Cheers, ref! We enjoyed that today."
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real better feeling than that, other than an advantage that leads to a goal, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess, is that something that you guys agree with?
Yes and no, I'm going to say. For the simple reasons that that's a great feeling for me.
You just don't get it enough.
I get battered every week. It's a great feeling for me, and it probably only lasts 5 minutes. And this is something we discussed the other day, actually. I then go into like critically overthinking in terms of self-analysing. I spend a lot of time on the phone with you as well. Unpicking the game, realising actually I did this wrong and that wrong, and then that feeling of, well, I've delivered the game safely becomes a bit of a mess. So it's a great feeling, and I love that feeling, but it doesn't last, for me, long enough, because I start overthinking and analysing, and that's why it's not so high for most, because I don't get that feeling very often.
I think personally, delivering an entertaining game and delivering a safe game can be two very different things, because an entertaining game could be one that's filled with controversy, rightly or wrongly, based on the decisions that you make. And I think that delivering a safe game is sometimes one that might potentially be boring. And I think that, is that actually entertaining as such from the crowd's perspective, but is it a great result for yourself as the referee? Because ultimately, as you said, if you have 22 handshakes at the end of the game, you're really happy. But are you going to have 22 handshakes if you've given 3 red cards, 2 penalties,
even if they
disallowed goals?
Exactly.
So it's a difficult one to answer, but I guess you have to find that balance.
9. So this was kind of like the make new friends at 13. 9. I thought this would be higher. Community, camaraderie, support. We've kind of touched upon that, so I don't think we need to go into too much detail. But there are obviously other people in refereeing that aren't just referees that are support groups, right? So like the Referees Association, you've got people who are observers or coaches or mentors that help you. 8. Enjoyment is the next best thing to playing.
I totally disagree.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What would you rather do if you couldn't play?
Yeah.
What would you prefer to do rather than refereeing? Just watch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think playing it has its own challenges, and refereeing has its own challenges. And I think if I played Sunday League last year, and I don't ever think I came off a game thinking everybody hates me.
Sure.
In terms of enjoyment, I discussed it in a vlog that I struggle after about 60 minutes of this overthinking. If people are just moaning and that happens, that overthinking of, oh my God, people hate me. And I don't think I get so much enjoyment out of that. And I'm sure you can comment on this as well, because you hear me moan about it all the time.
This is where sometimes you and I differ, which is quite a good thing. We get on really well, but sometimes we do clash. But I think it's good to be different as well. And actually, enjoyment for me was in my top 5.
Yeah.
So for me, as referees, we take a lot of abuse, rightly or wrongly sometimes. And I think that you have to go out and enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, there's no point in you being there. I think enjoying it is going to lead to a positive performance that you put out there on the field of play week in, week out. So for me, it's quite a big.
I think you're being harsh with yourself. I don't think you'd pick up that whistle every week if you weren't enjoying it.
I do. Yeah, there is obviously an element of that.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, and it's like, I don't know whether it's me being at a new level, and we've spoken about imposter syndrome, and I'm sure we'll cover that in a later podcast because it's quite a big thing especially for referees. You know, I don't know if that's what I'm struggling with this year, and I still am enjoying it. Like I did Dorking, Notts County, the vlog. You know, I was buzzing off it, and that is great, and I want to keep doing that. But there are just some times where I can think in the game like I'm not actually enjoying this.
Well, it's kind of leading to the number 7 there, which is the buzz of being in the middle.
Yeah.
A lot of these are kind of similar, but I feel like they're separate in their own right. So, like, the buzz of being in the middle for me is, you know, we talked about coming off the field, but actually while you're in the middle, taking in that feeling of I'm refereeing, I've got the whistle in my hand, I'm making decisions. I love that feeling of, you know, being able to impact the game positively, right? Like whether that's safe, like you mentioned, or like I said, around giving a good advantage. You know, I don't know. Have you ever guys taken like time out of refereeing, like a few months or longer? I don't think you realise just how much you miss it until you actually get back out. That first game back is that's the biggest buzz, is when you haven't had that buzz for so long. So yeah, for me that was quite high. Do you get that feeling still, or?
I do, and I think for me it extends actually not even just as a referee, as an assistant as well. So as a level 3 referee now operating on the National League South, like John says, it's great because you actually get a bit of a buzz where the game is faster, and if you have a tight offside or non-offside call and you think, okay, I've got that right, you actually get a little bit of a buzz from it, and you think that's great. I'm really pleased with that decision. And the same for fourth official, because we operate as fourth officials on the National League, and you've got huge teams in that ex-football league teams, and not only that, but you've got referees who operate at such a high level. You're all mic'd up, you've got comms, and it's great. It's just really, really like kind of you just come off that pitch with a buzz, even though you've not been running around. You still have a buzz from it. It's great.
It's the butterflies, isn't it?
So that a little bit off topic here, but we'll probably cover it in way more detail in another podcast. But the difference between a fourth official in the National League and refereeing in like the Isthmian or Southern League is a huge difference, right? That you could have a few hundred people. Some places may get almost 1,000 at that level. To you're getting a few thousand at National League. So do you think that's that kind of overall experience is contributing to that buzz, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, it's everything, isn't it? It's as you'll know, I'm not a massive advocate of getting to the ground early, but even getting to the ground early, being greeted by security, you know, having
the venues are huge.
The venues
much
are big.
Than,
Everything is just pristine.
Are the changing rooms better, or they're about the same?
Some are great, some aren't.
It's a real variation. Real variation.
I think it's everything. It's the whole occasion, the crowd, and you know, everything.
So number 6, again, very similar to others, but enjoying the challenge. And I think challenge is a really good word, because refereeing isn't a walk in the park, even though technically it is a walk in the park. But it's not easy. It's every game is different. You've got to kind of rise to whatever's put in front of you on that day. So challenge came really high. It came 6. It's just missed out on the top 5. But challenge is a huge part of refereeing, right? Like, can you remember like anything that you can remember in the past of a challenge? Not a physical challenge, but a challenge in the game where you're like, you got enjoyment from it, or you remembered it, and it, you know, you've brought yourself back from it.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's enjoyment, but I did have to abandon a game once, literally around about half an hour in. It was an under-15s game, and there was all sorts of assault allegations between players, parents, and coaches. And I ended up having to have a police statement taken from me. And I'd say that was obviously a challenge, and not necessarily the enjoyment side of the challenge, but it was definitely a challenge that I kind of had to overcome, because at the time I thought to myself, could I have prevented that? You know, I've had to, you know, cancel a game as such. I've had to say we can't play anymore because I can't actually guarantee the safety of everyone involved. So I've then had to come back from that and referee as a 16, 17-year-old at the time. So I think that's a big challenge as such. Maybe not a huge positive experience, but I think it's definitely made me a better referee for it. So.
I think for me, like I don't know, sometimes in a game it can be quite smooth sailing, and then something sparks in the game. Something happens, a goal happens, or a bad challenge, or something happens, and then you've got to go the challenge of rising from like coasting through a game to then saying, okay, I need to actually raise my level and switch on now. I love that kind of.
Yeah.
You know, it's a skill. It's a skill. It's a mental skill.
I think there's two sides of it as well. Dan's commented on the off-field stuff, which I think a lot of people forget about. You've commented on the off-field stuff, and you know, it's finding that balance between them both, because I think they both happen, and both of them, I think, show you as a person and how you are. Like, you've had to overcome some pretty horrendous things at 15, 16.
Yeah.
And yours is about holding your standards higher.
Yeah.
And that is a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's quite interesting.
Number 5. So we're in the top 5 now.
Yeah.
So if you are looking to become a referee, these are the 5 reasons you should become a referee based on 135 people that we asked who are referees. Number 5, and I know John's not going to like this one, giving back to football. No, not happy with it.
No.
Okay. Is this something that came into your top 5 at all?
It didn't. I actually, for once, I'm probably in agreement with John on something. But it's not actually in my top 5. I think there's maybe far more pertinent and kind of more overt reasons as to why you could give back, or roles you could give back to football in, as opposed to refereeing. I don't necessarily think, to be honest, that comes into my mindset when I go out there and referee.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one. I agree with you, but I think the people who may have said this may be people who've been playing football for a long period of time throughout their life, got to the end of it and decided, what can I do next, and have maybe fallen into refereeing in that way. And I get that. I get that from that side. So yeah, that came 5th. You know, how many people? 18 people put it as number 1. It got over 42 people said it was in their top 5. So a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people vote.
Related to
I
that.
completely agree with what you're saying. I think it definitely comes from people who have maybe been involved in football in other ways.
Yeah.
And then going into refereeing maybe later in life, later in their career.
We haven't actually talked about in any of these, and no one put it in the other, which kind of what relates to what you just said, is the flexibility of refereeing. Because if you're playing, you've got to be there at training, you've got to be there every game. Whereas actually, if you're a referee, you can be fairly flexible in the sense that if you don't want to referee that day, you just close your day.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more flexible way of staying involved in refereeing. So number 4, am I surprised this is in the top 5? No. And I think it was definitely in my top 5, which is money.
Yeah,
I think this proves that if you did take the money, so it got 64. It actually has the most people put this in their top 5. So they didn't rank it as high, so that's why it's hit 4th. But most people, 64 people out of that 135, said money was in their top 5. So to me, that says if there was no money involved, and other sports actually don't pay their officials, so like rugby at the lowest levels, they don't get a match fee. How big is money in your? And you guys have just stepped up a new level, so the money's increased even more. So for me, I wouldn't say it's a massive part, but I think on the days where you've had a bad game, you can look down and say, okay, well, at least I got a little bit of something from it that I can go out that evening or something like that. But is money a massive aspect of refereeing for you? Was it in your top 5?
I think it was. I think it was 5.
Okay.
I think it helps. Like, I think you make a massive point there that you come off those poor games and you look down and you think, yeah,
at least I got
something out of the day. And we all have those days. Let's not beat around the bush about it. I also think, like you said, we obviously have stepped up this year and we do get a little bit more money, but it also comes with time. In terms of he has to get to the ground 2 hours before, I have to get to the ground an hour and a half before.
It's that extra levels of commitment, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not just the time, it's the amount of extra commitment that you have to put in terms of training and the levels of fitness expected from a level 3 referee versus a level 4 referee.
Yeah.
And I think that's
even those 2 levels, you think it's stepped up fitness-wise?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, even the fitness test is
it's
like 2 seconds faster, which seems like nothing, but on the day, oh my god.
Yeah, I think overall money it didn't make my top 5 personally, but it would definitely be on the fringes of my top 5. I mean, ultimately, I've said right at the start of the podcast, this would be my career, right?
Yeah.
This is what I would like to do full time. And at the end of the day, one of the main reasons why you work is money, okay? Do a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life, which would definitely apply to me when it comes to refereeing. But obviously you need the money to be able to live your life, right?
Just on money, what do you do with your refereeing money? Do you like save it in a pot somewhere, or I know some people give it away. I realise that I just spend it in the week and I just forget, like I don't, and I wish I was. I'm going to maybe start from today, everyone, put it aside and use it at the end of the season for doing something, whether that's for myself or someone else, but otherwise it just goes to waste a little bit. But is it the same with you, or do you save it away?
Well, first of all, we'll clip that and then we'll come back to it at the end of the season. I think it's a bit of both. Some days of the week I'm out for dinner a lot, and I go out with my mates, and it disappears on a Saturday night and I don't know where to. There's a lot of places in Brighton that have a lot of my money, but sometimes I save it up, and I was able to go on holiday. I'm going on a big trip next year, so a lot of that sort of referee money is going towards that sort of holiday.
Cool.
Yeah, I think being in the same social circles as John, we go out for a meal sometimes in the week as a group of mates just to catch up. So it kind of goes towards my extracurricular activities, basically, shall we say. That it's a bit of spending money. Obviously we all have full-time jobs outside of our refereeing, and that's our main source of income. But this is just supplementary, and it just maybe gives us a few luxuries.
It's the fun fund.
Fun. I like that. Okay, top three now. At number 3, this got voted on again, just one less than money, but again, some people have had it a little bit higher, ranked higher. They referee as either a reason to stay fit or to a reason to continue to improve their fitness. You didn't like this, that I put this in the survey.
Yes and no. I think the way that you've just put it makes it sound fair.
Yeah.
A reason to stay fit for example, I think it's very relevant for us that we have to stay fit. If obviously the vlogs again, I train 5 days a week, so I'm ready for a Saturday or a Tuesday. It does give me a reason to stay fit. It's just not in my top 5 reasons. And I think we touched on this is because I come from an athletic background.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Like fitness is already like a big part of me and a big part of my personality. So not I wouldn't say it crosses with refereeing. Like if I drop refereeing, I'm still going to stay fit. So that's why I think I not find it hard to see the other side of the argument. But it's not.
I think I've just thought of a good way of describing it to get you on side.
Yeah, right.
Some people will sign up to a marathon next year.
Yeah.
For a reason, to get fit.
Yeah.
To get there.
No, and I think that is right. And I think it's unfair of me to sit here and preach about being fit when I know if I drop refereeing I'd stay fit.
Yeah.
Like I said, from
not for me.
It's that old phrase. You stay fit to referee. You don't referee to stay fit.
He's watched the vlogs.
Very on brand. And, no, but I think that is my perspective.
Sure.
From working with yourself on some fitness stuff.
Yeah.
I would suggest this is for referees at maybe a lower level, new to refereeing, possibly like me who've struggled with weight before. And still, but I use the fact that I need to run around 9-10k on a Saturday to make myself during the week think about, okay, let's go for a run today, let's go for a gym session today. So it does help with that. And so for those who are potentially looking at ways to improve your fitness, maybe this is refereeing is a reason to do that.
I agree. I do agree with that.
Cool. Opportunity to progress and go professional was number 2. So you had this at number 1.
Yep, I did. Yeah.
And interestingly, this actually got a lot less votes than the other in the top 4, but so many people had this at number 1 that it boosted it. So I do think this is a new. I think 10 years ago, referees who were getting into refereeing were doing it for the other reasons in this list.
Yeah.
I think becoming professional now, the Premier League referees have been professional for a few years, but now the Select Group 2 are professional. You've got the assistants in the Premier League are professional. it is now a possible career, right? So this is high up the ladder. If I was younger, this would be my number one. And I'm assuming you said it was your number one. Where was it? Did it come in your top 5?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's in my top 5 on like retrospect of like why I'm probably still going and training so much.
Yeah.
For the simple reason that I feel like you must feel the same. You even closer, touching distance. The FA have announced that some of the 2Bs and the 2As are going part-time in their jobs. And we're not a million miles away from that. Some of the assistants at step 1 are going part-time as well. We are within touching distance of this opportunity, and it at this level feels very close.
Yeah, I think at the level that we operate now, we have to recognise that we are very close to a very high profile level of the game. So I think it's just really important to recognise that and be responsible with what you have to do to basically say I'm ready for that next step. I've always suggested that we have to be ready for that next step whilst we're operating at this level. So I think that's really, really important, just to be prepared to move up as and when you're called upon, because hopefully if you're having a good season, that call or that email might come in at any time.
Was it, you've put it number 1, but is that something that's maybe started out being like 5 or 10, and as you've gone up the levels it started to become number 1, or was it the reason you became a referee?
For me personally, hand on heart, it's the main reason why I became a referee. There was really no other reason for it for me when I first started. I've always wanted to try and get as far with refereeing as I possibly can, whether that be up to the National League, whether that be to the Football League or beyond, hopefully beyond if I'm lucky enough and put in the hard work. But yeah, it's always been my number 1 goal and always been the reason as to why I started.
It wasn't the reason I started, and I got to last year and thought maybe, I was close to touching 3. I got 3.
Did you, when you say it wasn't the reason, is it because it felt too far away?
It's not really anything. I did refereeing as a hobby. I enjoyed it. I took it up for money to give up my paper round. 2, my dad's a referee, and 3, I did it for my DOV. So there was like a multitude of reasons to take it up. And then I started going through the levels quite quickly at uni. It was picked up that I was quite good, and I just thought, we could give it a go. So I took it up at 14, and realistically, who knows what they want to do at 14?
That's true.
And then when I realised I got through that, everyone says that 2-year period of if you stick it for 2 years, you're probably going to stay doing it for a long time. I got to that 2 years and thought, actually, maybe I can give this a good go, because it was just at the time that everyone was like, oh, there is a career in this now. And being 26, they've just opened up the women's pathway where you can be a full-time women's referee. So the opportunities keep coming. And
I think right now is the best time to be in refereeing, especially at you guys' age. Like, because you've got so much opportunity ahead of you, and I actually think it's just going to continue. Like you said, with the part-time roles that are being offered now, that's new. I just can see that continuing, right? I think that's going to continue going forward. I also know that about 80% of new referees are 18 or under. I think that is probably one of the big reasons that they're getting into it. Yes, for those other things, money. It's money is probably the main reason, but once they get a taste of it, I think that opportunity to progress is now the carrot, because it is a potential career. Cool. So we come back to our last one, the top reason as voted by referees to be a referee. I don't believe this is a reason that people join the course. I believe this is a thing that you get as a benefit. Like, you realise as you referee, oh wow, this is happening. And what most people have voted as number 1 is personal development. And I've put brackets, leadership, communication, teamwork, organisation, things like that. So you actually mentioned it was your number 1.
Yep.
Again, you've also stated it wasn't probably number 1 when you started.
Yeah.
But this is a big thing that I don't actually think referees do a great job talking about, is all the skills that you learn on the field and how they can actually relate back into the workplace, or if you're at uni, going to university and college, etc. So talk to me, Dan, about personal development. Like, what things, maybe let's talk about the skills that you think you take away from the field.
I think communication is a big one, and I think maybe dealing with undesirable situations. I think, personally, what I used to pre-pandemic, I used to work in an office environment, and I think in every job you do, you're always going to come across maybe one or two people who you don't necessarily get along with. But I think it's about building a rapport with them as much as you can to be able to do a job. And sometimes you have to do that on the pitch, right? You might have a problem player, and you have to just work with them as best as you possibly can. So I think there's some transferable skills there. There's that kind of element of building that rapport. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't one of my top 5 reasons, but it's probably higher on my list now that I think about it, because I've used refereeing as an example from my personal refereeing in job interviews so many times. And it's actually gone down really, really well with the person interviewing me, because there are so many transferable skills.
Well, that's where I wanted to flip this round on you, being obviously the co-founder of REFSIX, and you do a lot of the recruitment here. What are you looking for if a referee or someone said that, I'm a referee? What are you looking to get out of that? Like, what do you want to hear from them saying that? Because obviously this will be great for any youngster listening.
I mean, I don't think it's what am I looking to hear from them. I think if you can translate things that happen on the field to a skill that you can bring into the workplace, and articulate an example of when you've done that. Like you mentioned a few of communication, etc. But for me, like crisis management is a big thing in companies, right? If something goes wrong, how do you deal with that? I think that's probably one of the biggest skills you learn on the field.
How do you stay calm whilst dealing with that as well?
How do you stay calm? How do you understand? Like, try and put a checklist in your head of all the things that you need to do in that split second. How do you communicate with different people, different stakeholders? So whether that be the player, whether that be the opponent, whether that be the manager, spectators potentially.
People of different backgrounds.
Everything. So like, if you can articulate, I think you've got to do a good job and think about examples of things like crisis management, or how you performed as a leader, or how you reacted to something that, well, I guess that's crisis management, but like event management, right? That's what, a lot of the select group guys talk about managing the event. That's a great way to say, oh, okay, well, maybe you don't have enough experience. You're going in for your first job interview, and being able to say, well, actually, I manage an event every Saturday. This is what I do. I referee a game, but when I have to communicate with the teams and my officials before the game. I organise travel, I get to the game, I make sure I do a pitch inspection, and make sure that, early enough so that, we know that the game can go on, etc. If you can talk through how, the things that you do on the field or on a match day, and then relate that to, and talk through all of those steps to someone who's interviewing, they may not even like football, they may have never been to a football game, but the fact that you can say, well, I do all these things, I think helps. So I think personal development for me, it came out number 1. I don't think it's one that you would start to do, but again, if you're looking at becoming a referee, there are so many skills that you'll learn on that field and around the ecosystem of being a referee that will benefit you not only on the field but outside of football. So there you have it. There's our top 5 reasons to become a referee, or to stay as a referee, or 5 reasons to be a referee. What did you think? Did you agree with those? Are there anything that we missed? Let us know in the comments. But that's that.
Quick one while you're here. We're just going to talk about REFSIX Pro. So obviously, I'm a REFSIX Pro user. You obviously co-founded REFSIX. And Dan, you are a new or within the first 12 months of your REFSIX journey. So just give us an idea of why you use REFSIX Pro.
So I think the main reason why I started using it was the timer, in terms of from the count up and count down perspective. I'm useless at maths, and the whole working out the minute of the game or the minute of the caution from my watch that only ever used to count down from 45 for each half. That feature to me for REFSIX, to be able to count the actual minute that you're in, for me to just glance at my watch for the caution time for maybe a second half situation, was just really, really useful. So that is the main thing for me that I use it for. The heat map stuff I've started using more often as I've started to use, as you say, I'm only in my first kind of 12 months of using the app, and I'm starting to use that more and more, and I'm actually finding that it's helping me with my positioning while I'm actually out there refereeing. So that's really, really useful. But yeah, overall, it's just makes life so much easier out on the pitch.
That's music to my ears. I guess the one question that we get from referees is they see all of the functionality and all of the features, and they basically get worried that they have to use them all. Whereas you don't use it for kind of yellow cards and red cards, I believe, right?
No, yes, I'm still a little bit old school. I still write. So in my actual physical book, I write from the team sheets. I write the first names and last initial of all the players and the numbers, and all of my cautioning is done through the old-fashioned way through the book. I record goals on REFSIX, and obviously, as I say, use it for the timer. But that is about it. And as I say, I analyse the positioning with the heat map and stuff like that. So I don't use it for every single thing. As you say, it could be overwhelming if you do. And I think just it's a nice way to ease into it, maybe by starting to use one or two features rather than just jumping straight in and trying to use all of it in one go.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, obviously, thanks for sharing that. And obviously, if you want to get REFSIX Pro and you want to get all these cool features, obviously follow us on YouTube, and there's lots of tutorials there. But head over to our website, which is www.refsix.com, and you can use the discount code podcast for an extra special discount. Back to the podcast. Okay, so the next part of this is, as Hassan says, show that referees know ball. So we are obviously, I think it's 18 days away from the World Cup at time of recording. So I want everyone to tell me who their starting 11 for the England team is going to be.
The one that we would want.
It's not what you think Southgate's going to pick, which everybody argues about. It's if you were the England gaffer right now, who are you picking? So I think we'll just start position-wise, and then we'll, put it out there in the world. And if people on TikTok, YouTube decide to batter us, then so be it. So
I think we're going to have about 6 or 7 the same.
I've got a rogue one in there that I'm ready for the internet to explode for. So keepers.
Hopefully you get the hate you truly deserve.
Get it on Saturday. Get it on a Wednesday, whenever this will go
out. Keeper, I've gone Pickford.
I've gone Pope.
I've gone Pickford.
Oh, good.
We're off to a
I
good
thought this
start.
was going to be the easy, everyone's going to put Pickford.
No. I think Pickford's form hasn't been that great.
Okay.
Going into the last couple of weeks, it's actually been pretty good. Coming back into. But I just think from the start of the season to now, I think Nick Pope has been. And in fact, I'd have Pickford at 3. I'd have Ramsdale at 2.
Wow.
I'm a Newcastle fan. I love Pope. And I think Pope and Pickford's skill set, shot stopping, is probably equal. I think Pope's better at claiming the ball from crosses, from corners, but Pickford's distribution is the key. Similar to Alisson, where we've seen 5 or 6 where he'll get the ball from a corner and ping it to Salah and he scores. Pickford's the only goalkeeper who's got that in his locker, and I'm a Newcastle fan. I'd love Pope to start. I think Pope would have a stronger case if it wasn't for that mistake against Germany.
That was exactly what I was going to mention.
Yeah.
So the two things that I was going to say as to why I've chosen Pickford over Pope is the distribution element, and then also those, I think it was actually 2 mistakes against Germany maybe. I might be wrong.
No, I think it was the one at the end. I don't think he was saving Havertz's goal, and there was a penalty. Yeah, but I think, again, I'm a Newcastle fan. I meant to hate Pickford, and I kind of do when he's playing at Everton. He's an ex-Sunderland player. But actually, when he plays for England, I don't think he's really put a foot wrong.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
So, right back.
No, we'll leave the controversial decisions till the end. We'll start left back.
I think this could be controversial, but go for it. You go first, Dan.
I've got Luke Shaw at left back. I think partially due to injuries, but also I think maybe not been in the best form this season. But I think he was probably maybe in our top 3 best players at the Euros. So I think he's earned the right to retain that left back shirt. Yeah.
If so, obviously Ben Chilwell got injured yesterday. Looks like he's out. Would you have put Chilwell in above Shaw or not?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with John. I think I probably would. It would be very, very tight. It would be like a 51-49 kind of ratio sort of thing. But I think I would have put Chilwell in just.
I would have gone 90-10 Chilwell, but that's fine. Yeah, I've gone Shaw for the fact that I think Chilwell is done and dusted.
I've got Shaw, but notable honorary mention for Big Dan Burn.
I think that's a joke.
No, Dan Burn has been unbelievable this
that's
season.
the black and white stripes.
If you
coming out there.
top playing out of position left back, top least amount of goals conceded, and he's been I did not understand why we signed him in January. He's been awesome. I think he might go as a backup, possibly. Who knows? Okay, let's go on. Centre back.
My two are.
Have we all gone Stones?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah,
he's our number one centre back.
Yeah, I agree.
He's played more for City in the early stages of this season. Granted, maybe due to injuries to other players, but I think he's done well.
We'll keep him if he's playing. Then that's what we want.
Yeah.
Tamori.
I've got 3 players for the second. Tomori is one of them potentially.
So I've got 3 at the back with wing backs.
I've
got 5 at the back. So I've got two more centre halves.
So wait, okay, we didn't ask for formation. So
Yeah.
I've gone 4-3-3. You've gone
4-2-3-1.
So I've gone
similar.
5-2-3.
Oh, so you are playing the Southgate.
I'm playing the Southgate way because
Okay.
I think that works best for us in tournament
Interesting.
football.
Okay,
Tried
cool.
and tested.
So I went. I put White down first. Ben White.
I've got Ben White.
Even though he's been playing out of position, I think at least from what I've seen, I think he'd be a good job. Tomori, I believe, is unbelievable, but I haven't watched enough to be able to say actually he should start. I think this is my safe. I don't think I wouldn't like to start him, but based on the fact that he's been playing the most at centre back out of the rest of those players that I know, I went Eric Dyer, centre back.
So we've got 2.
Wow.
We're going out in group stages, boys.
So this is where I'm probably going to get the most hate from
You're going
in the
Maguire.
comments, but I'm going Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
In a back 3.
In a back 3, and then with wing backs.
Okay.
Who's the other centre back?
Ben White.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So again, like yourself,
Yeah.
I think Ben White's done a job even out of position for
Mhm.
Arsenal. But now that we're potentially a little bit short at right back, knowing that he could play there as well if Southgate wanted him to, I think tournament football versatility is really important when it comes to players playing multiple positions.
I don't mind 3 at the back with those 3, but I think we lose attacking options playing with that third centre back. So that's why I went 4-3-3. So let's recap. Pickford for me, Shaw, Stones, Dyer, and then we've got right back.
So it's the right wing back for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so the Newcastle fan is going to like me here, but I think Kieran Trippier starts at right wing back for
I back this decision.
I agree. That was easy.
So we've got 2 centre mids to go through, and you've got 1, I'm assuming.
No.
I've got 2, so almost holding midfielder roles, protecting what I think is the weakest part of our team, which is the centre backs.
I went kind of as 8s or 6s, but probably 8s. Rice and Bellingham.
Same,
yeah.
I went Bellingham and Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
No, that's mad.
Wow, that's rogue.
Is that the rogue one?
That is the rogue. So internet, come at me. I just think I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek is class.
I liked him, but I don't think he's.
I think he's been playing
since
well
the
on
last
the
World Cup. I don't think because he got into a few of the games at the 2018 World Cup, right? I just don't. He went on loan to Fulham. I think he was at Palace as well, maybe.
Yeah, he got injured though.
Yeah, and then it surprised me that he's been playing for Chelsea. To be honest,
That's what I mean.
He's
I
been getting
think
more minutes than I expected.
Yeah.
As well. I think the argument that you might want to make is that if we're saying that Pickford's coming back into form, I think you could maybe say the same of Loftus-Cheek, especially if he's getting a few minutes.
Yeah. I just think he's big, he's powerful.
I wouldn't have even had him in my squad.
I actually did a 26 squad as well, just in case I'm over preparing as I always do.
Shock.
But I didn't have him in my squad.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so where you gone? Rice, Bellingham. No, you went
Bellingham, Loftus-Cheek.
You didn't not playing Rice.
Look, Rice is an honourable mention. Don't get me wrong.
Wow.
I just think he's got such an engine on him. His just work rate is just phenomenal.
But I think Bellingham's
he's
is
one
better.
of the first names on the team sheet. Bellingham and Rice for me.
Agree.
One of the first names.
So we've gone 4-2. You've got 5-2, and then you've got 3 up the top.
Yeah.
Three across the middle.
3 in the middle, and then a striker. But let's just get Kane out of the way.
Yeah. Solid.
Kane's their striker for all of us.
Yeah.
Who? I didn't ask you to prepare this, but who is the 2 other strikers that you're taking? He might take 3, but what other 2 strikers? You've done your 26, so you've already written them.
So the other number 9s.
Yeah.
So I've got.
If Kane gets injured, who are the 2 backups?
Ivan Toney.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he actually got any minutes during the last Nations League round of games, but I think he's shown what he can do at Brentford. He's also on penalties at Brentford, and I think his success rate for penalties, which obviously nobody needs reminding, has been England's Achilles heel in so many major tournaments in the past. So I think he's a reliable option to bring on in extra time, maybe if needed. And I haven't actually got another conventional number 9, but Rashford would probably be the closest that I've got, because again I think he's coming back into form, and I think he's going to earn a place in the squad. Sorry.
So for me, it's Callum Wilson.
Yeah, good. I'm glad someone said that.
And it would either be Tony or Tammy Abraham. I'm torn because they're both identical players. We were discussing this in the office. Abraham hasn't scored as many as Tony, but I think in that Roma system, I obviously watch a lot of football because I don't have anything else to do. He really supports Dybala like a small winger, and there is a small winger in my team.
There's 2 small wingers in my team as well.
I would definitely have Callum Wilson, and then I'm torn between Abraham and Tony. I don't think Calvert-Lewin gets in.
No.
Rashford would probably be my 26, and he could play on the wing and striker. And he is someone that I think is playing really well at the moment. The header against West Ham was just like, it shows his hunger, I think, that goal. All right, so we've got striker out the way. Do you want to do your 2 on the side of him?
Yeah, I think hopefully one of them might be unanimous, and the other one might be a little bit controversial. But the one that I think is unanimous, I think, is Foden.
Yeah.
I think he has to start. I think he's just so creative, and I think he's just obviously under Guardiola. You can see how much he's grown as a player. And Sterling as the player I've got on the other wing.
Interesting. You said it would be controversial, that one.
Yeah, that's the one I think.
Which is mad, because I think Sterling was our best player at the Euros.
Yeah. In England, shows class.
And that's really torn me a little bit, because I think Sterling will start probably for Southgate, but I've gone Saka.
Yeah, I follow that.
So I've got Saka in the squad.
In your next plan.
But again, the injury situation for me just...
Is he injured?
He's
unless is he fully
back to fully... fantasy football, he said it's spitfire.
He's not in my fantasy team. But he helped me win a fantasy league last season. But he's not in my fantasy team this year.
I think Saka's personally playing... I think Sterling's... I don't know how many he got. I think he's only got 1 or 2 for Chelsea, has he?
3, I think. Yeah, it's not that many.
I believe he scored in the week in the Champions League. He's coming back to form.
I mean, that would be Sterling or Saka to me would be... I would be happy with Sterling starting, especially with his history for England. But then we've got one more player.
Yeah.
Centre attack and midfield.
Yeah.
Have you gone same as me?
I think so. Wait, who would you go in our formation at centre attacking mid?
With all those other players that we've mentioned.
As a 10.
So there's two questions I'm thinking in my mind here: is who would I go with, and who do I think that you 2 have picked?
Okay.
So who would you go with?
Who would I go with? I would probably go with Mason Mount.
Get this man off the podcast.
But I think you've both gone with James Maddison.
Yeah.
I am a massive James Maddison fanboy.
I think his goal contributions this season in a really poor Leicester team, and last season in a pretty average Leicester team. I hope he at least makes the plane, because it's touch and go whether he even goes,
that's
right?
a good point actually.
But the only weakness I would say in the team that I've created is Rice, Bellingham, Maddison, Foden, Saka. They're all young
and small.
Well, fairly small, but they're all young. So but even Mount, if you put Mount in, he's got a lot more experience.
Yeah.
Big game experience as well, but it's missing some old heads, some experienced heads. A Jordan Henderson.
A big Jordan.
A Jordan Henderson maybe, I don't think
he doesn't even make the plane for you, does he?
No, he doesn't.
The
thing is, he's been injured again. But yeah, like you say, there are a lack of old heads in some of those 11s that we've put forward.
Not a very direct centre back though.
No, but I do think
You think that's a bad call?
Yeah, I'm not having that. No.
no, I don't think that I should be on the plane.
Oh wow. Okay.
I personally think that in the group stages, looking no disrespect to the teams that we are supposed to be playing, but we should be winning that group with a 100% record. And I think players like James Maddison, you're going to need their creativity for unlocking a team like Iran, who are going to park the bus.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely fine. And then you can bring in the more mature players into the starting 11 for the knockout games, assuming that we get there, hopefully.
That's where I think the right back conversation comes in.
I'd prefer to have Tomori than Dyer, but I don't know why. Like, I don't think I've got enough knowledge of how he's been playing.
This is why Abraham didn't come into my consideration, because I don't have that knowledge of watching Syria. So same with Tomori.
So that was our England team, the starting 11 that we would do. I think when the squad is announced, we'll do what we think Gareth will do, and we'll also talk about loads more to do with the World Cup. Who we think will get the first game and the last game are traditional ones that you want to guess. Maybe some referees that we think you should look out for in the tournament as well. So we'll talk about those on future episodes. But let us know in the comments, do you agree? Give John some rubbish for choosing Loftus-Cheek. And maybe some me for Eric Dyer, who knows? Thank you for listening. John, Dan, thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next REFSIX podcast.